The Life of a Tiger, a story of struggle and survival. Once upon a time, in the dense jungles of India, a tiger cub was born. His eyes were still closed, and his tiny, helpless body lay close to his mother's side. He would grow up to be one of the most majestic creatures on earth, a powerful apex predator. But from the very moment he opened his eyes to the world, his life was filled with challenges, many of which would be beyond his control. A struggle for space as the cub grew, he ventured further from his mother's den, his sharp instincts guiding him. The forest was vast, filled with towering trees and thick underbrush, perfect for a tiger to roam and hunt. But something was changing. The once lush jungle began to shrink. The deep woods that the tiger once knew so well were being torn down. His mother, once able to roam freely, now found herself wandering into smaller patches of land. Human settlements were creeping in, roads were being paved, and farms were planted where the forest used to thrive. His natural habitat was vanishing, and with it, his freedom. The tiger cub would soon realize that even the wildest jungles were no longer safe from human expansion. The silent threat of poachers. One day, as the tiger wandered deeper into the woods, he sensed something strange. A shadow flickered in the trees, humans, moving silently through the underbrush. His mother had warned him about them. These humans were not like the villagers he'd occasionally seen. They carried rifles and traps. They were after something precious, something the tiger could not escape. Despite all their strength and cunning, tigers were no match for the cruel, silent methods of poachers. His mother had escaped such threats for now, but there were whispers in the forest that her time was running out. Tigers like her, with their beautiful fur and powerful bones, were often targets for those who would trade their body parts for profit. The young tiger knew that survival meant staying hidden, staying quiet. The forest, once so full of life, now held dangers beyond imagination. Encounters with humans. As the young tiger became a skilled hunter, the boundaries of his territory expanded. He learned to stalk deer, wild boar, and the other creatures of the jungle, silently moving through the undergrowth. But as his world grew, so did the presence of humans. New roads were built, and towns sprang up. One night, the tiger ventured too close to a village in search of food. He was hungry, and the scent of livestock was too tempting to resist. When he attacked, he found himself face to face with an angry farmer, who screamed at him, weapon in hand. The tiger had no choice but to retreat, leaving the carcass behind. Humans had learned to fear the tiger, but they had also learned to kill them. The young tiger's instincts told him that the threat of humans was now as real as the animals he hunted. A decrease in prey. As time passed, the young tiger, now a strong adult, noticed something strange. The prey that had once roamed the forest in abundance was becoming harder to find. His once plentiful meals of deer, boar, and smaller animals were fewer and fewer. The humans, too, had been hunting these animals for their own needs, and their presence had scared off many of the tiger's prey. His mother, growing old, struggled to find enough food to feed herself, let alone him. Tigers needed vast territories and an abundance of prey to survive, but the land was growing sparse, and the tiger's way of life was slowly fading. The hardship of raising cubs despite the scarcity of food and the dangers of encroaching humans, the tiger made it, and soon he fathered cubs of his own. But being a parent in such a world was no easy task. Cubs were vulnerable, exposed to predators, disease, and the harsh conditions of the wild. Only a few would survive the first year. As his cubs grew, the tiger taught them how to hunt, how to move silently through the jungle, and how to avoid danger. But it was clear survival was not guaranteed. The young cubs' futures were uncertain in a world where the jungle was no longer their safe home. With every passing season, the tiger watched as the jungle he had known began to change. The genetic struggles. As the tiger's cubs grew into adulthood, something else began to trouble him. He noticed fewer and fewer tigers in his territory. The once thriving population of his kind had dwindled. Inbreeding was becoming a concern, as isolated tiger populations struggled to find mates. The forest was growing quieter, the once vibrant calls of tigers now echoing fewer times in the night. The tiger's family tree was slowly withering, and without the strength of genetic diversity, the entire species faced the risk of becoming weaker, more susceptible to disease and illness. Every year, he watched fewer cubs survive. The future of his kind seemed bleak. Being trapped in a cage in the deeper parts of the forest, far away from his territory, there were places where tigers were kept in cages. Some were taken from the wild, others bred in captivity for human entertainment. They were put on display in zoos or used in circuses, forced to live in small enclosures far from their natural habitat. The tiger, now older, often wondered about those tigers. What kind of life was it to live behind bars, to never feel the freedom of the open jungle, to be controlled by humans? He could only imagine the pain they must have felt. But his own fate was not much different. Humans still encroached on his territory, and even his existence was constantly threatened by their presence. The effects of climate change. As the years passed, the tiger noticed more changes in the environment. The seasons were shifting. Rain came in unpredictable waves, and summers grew hotter. The temperature was rising, and the rivers began to dry up. The once fertile land was becoming a desert. The tiger's jungle was changing, and with it, the balance of life. His prey moved away, seeking cooler areas, and his once lush hunting grounds began to wither. Rising temperatures, longer droughts, and unpredictable weather made it harder to find food and shelter. Even the places that were once safe for tigers were now becoming too dangerous to inhabit. The stress of survival. As the tiger grew older, the weight of his responsibilities grew heavier. He had to defend his territory from rival males, ensure that he could find enough food to survive, and raise his cubs in a world that seemed determined to take it all away. Every day, the tiger lived in constant stress. The dangers were relentless: the threat of poachers, the shrinking of his habitat, and the increasing competition for food and space. It was a life of constant vigilance, where the struggle for survival never ended. Though tigers are magnificent creatures, their lives are far from easy. From the moment they are born, their survival is a battle against forces far beyond their control. Whether it's habitat loss, poaching, human conflict, or environmental changes, the life of a tiger in the modern world is fraught with difficulty. Even at the top of the food chain, they face a world that is slowly making it impossible for them to thrive.